everything that you want in your life is outside of your comfort zone. I think that most people that struggle in this business are the ones that can't seem to find a way to just get out of their own way. I think we all know what we're supposed to do. It's just removing the mental barrier and just going out into the world and taking action. So Josh made a video request. He asked, can you tell me about the time that you went broke and how you came back to the promised land? To give you guys a little bit of context, I quit my job, my W-2 job in 2015, and I was a sales manager. I gave everything that I had to that job, and I just didn't want to work for anybody else ever again. I decided to jump into real estate, and it took me a little bit of time to get my footing. Now, you could always make the argument that I could have tried a little bit harder, I could have worked harder, but to be honest, after working for 3 years without a vacation, without a sick day, I saw that 6 to 7 month space as really like a sabbatical. So that's about how long it took me to get my first deal. It was about 7 months, 7 or 8 months. Once I got that first deal or that first transaction down, I started to build up some momentum. And I think that I always had a reputation of being a hard worker, an honest worker, and I must have been somewhat of a likable person. And even when I was brand new, I still had a good amount of people that approached me and said, hey, I know that you're brand new at this, but you're the only person that I can trust to help me with this thing that I think is really important, buying or selling a house. At the time, I was mostly working with buyers. And so I was primarily working my sphere of influence. And I think that if you are just working your sphere of influence, I think it's a little bit naive. It is the low-hanging fruit. Well, let me rephrase this. I think if you're not working your sphere of influence, I think that's dumb. At the same time, if you're only working your sphere of influence, I think that's a little bit naive. The thing about working your sphere of influence is that it's the low-hanging fruit. And once you've picked all of the low-hanging fruit, you either need to wait for the next season or the next crop, or you need to go up higher into that tree to go pick the fruit, i.e. put in more effort. It turns out that I was really bad at going out into the world and finding new business. And in our business, in the real estate business, who knows when that next crop is going to happen. I don't know if this is going to be a 6-month thing, a 1-year thing, or if you think about your past clients, they buy and sell a house maybe somewhere around every 10 years. So it's a long time to be waiting. And at the end of the day, there's just more people out in the world that you don't know than the people that you do know. And I think that it's really important that you're able to go out into the world and figure out how to get new business. Okay, if you're finding this content to be helpful, please make sure to ask a question down in the comments because I do answer and get to all questions. So anyway, I did pretty good. I made my first 6 figures. I thought I was doing really great. And then all of the business dried up for me. And I had to figure out how to go out into the world and get new business. And it turns out I was a really bad real estate agent if being a real estate agent is defined as a prospecting job. I think I was a good agent. I wasn't very good at prospecting. I was really shy and intimidated to talk to new people, especially the ones that I didn't know. And I fell into the trap of buying Zillow leads, buying Facebook ads. I think I signed up for like zbuyer.com to try to get buyer and seller leads. And I closed a couple of deals, but nothing that was going to be able to prop or sustain my business. And basically everything that I made in that first year, I spent all of the money trying to figure out all of these shortcuts to doing the work that I should be out there doing. And not only that, I had about $7 in my bank account. Fast forward another 12 months. $7 in my bank account. I was probably about $100,000 in credit card debt. I was back home living with my parents. And for reference, I was like 28 at the time, just for reference. And I didn't own any assets. So I was definitely in a hole here. But I also knew that I couldn't go back and work for anybody else ever again. I would rather starve to death than work for another person ever again. But I'm not gonna lie, there were times where I thought about stocking grocery shelves at night. There were times where I thought maybe I should go Uber just to make it into the next month. Now, eventually, I really just pulled my head out of my ass and I just said, look, whatever it is that I'm doing right now is clearly not working. And I need to do something else, something dramatic to get myself out of this hole. And I need to stop feeling sorry for myself and defeated and unmotivated. And, you know, something that I heard recently, I think it's such a great saying. Everything that you want in your life is outside of your comfort zone. I think that most people that struggle in this business are the ones that can't seem to find a way to just get out of their own way. I think we all know what we're supposed to do. It's just removing the mental barrier and just going out into the world and taking action. I've said this so many times before, but imperfect action is always better than perfect inaction. So if you are struggling right now, you just need to get out into the world and do something. For me, that something was implementing a video strategy. Now, when someone reached out to me, and even if it was a strong referral, that interaction was an interview situation. And to be honest, I don't really like interview situations. When someone watches a video and then they reach out to me, I felt as if that they already made the decision to work with me. And so I doubled down on video. And that was essentially what helped me to go from being not only broke, but also massively in debt, to getting myself out of that hole and eventually breaking into the close to mid six figures in income. And I essentially attribute all of that to my video strategy. Now, what's kind of great about this is that, and I think that video, I don't think that it's oversaturated now, but back then it was really easy to stand out with video. I wasn't necessarily the most consistent with video, but I was doing just enough. And, you know, I wasn't doing it for entertainment value either. I was trying to provide value to the people that I know and just outside of that sphere of influence. Now, another thing that I'll say is that, you know, sometimes we get so caught up or even defeated when we do get on video or we make a social post and there's only a few people that might click on it or comment on it, or maybe you're not getting the views that you thought you wanted. The great thing about real estate is that it's a hyper local business. And so you actually don't need a huge following. When I was making my best income as an agent, I only did it with like 600 or 700 friends on Facebook. That was pretty much that was essentially my gold mine. That was my database that I was working. So I would much rather reach a few people that really cared about my messaging or needed my help, as opposed to trying to reach hundreds of thousands of people that will never take action on buying or selling a house. So if you're intimidated about getting on video, just pretend like you're talking to one person. And I promise you, if there's one person that you're helping with your content, there's probably dozens of other people that you're probably also going to be helping as well. So don't be discouraged. Just get out there and just get started. Okay, so I'm relatively new to YouTube. I want to get my first 100 subscribers. So if you found this content to be helpful, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.